And now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
And welcome into Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I am Chad Brilliante alongside the former NFL coach and Florida Gator quarterback, kind enough to make time for us and share his insight, and the only NFL coach from the Pensacola area. Got a lot of players, but the coach, sometimes has to lay down the line. He has a lot to talk about today. I've had a chance to work with him over the years, and very privileged to do so. And over the next couple weeks, and we'll see how long we this relationship. So I might be the quarterback one day that throws 5 picks like Jameis, and then, Coach, I don't hear back. But today we will get to all the big games and more. And joining us, the former NFL coach, it is his show, Coach K. Stevenson. Coach, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Well, good to be with you, Chad. Good to be with our audience today. Big day. What a heck of a weekend.
Yeah, a few games to get to right there. First off, we're going to get to the game with Florida and LSU. This is a matchup that you were a Florida Gator quarterback. You know a lot of the people out there, a lot of these guys. They started to believe a little more in Kyle Trask, the offense, the way they were able to go out there and make some plays. However, going into Death Valley for a night game, right there in LSU, chance of rain, never, the excitement, college game day there. I think very few teams, maybe even outside of just Alabama this year, goes into that game and plays the way that and wins that game. I mean, what Florida did to me, Coach, was sometimes you can win even in a loss, and I think they gained a lot of respect, but LSU is the real deal this year.
My goodness, Chad, can you believe? I tell you what a great show LSU put on, and there's some things that just statistically that came out of this ball game that should give everybody cause to really think about LSU as being maybe the best team in the country. Okay, you realize in this particular game, LSU had the ball 16 minutes less than Florida. Florida had the ball 38 minutes and 38 seconds to 21 minutes and 41 seconds. In that time, LSU put 509 yards of offense up and 42 points. Now, what if they had an equal amount of time? What could they have done? I'll tell you, it's just absolutely amazing. Now, I give Florida some credit. You're right. When you opened up about this game, and Trask, I think, did an outstanding job for a young guy. Going into Baton Rouge and that stadium and the atmosphere against an outstanding football team. Let me tell you, the only caveat here, the only Achilles heel that I see possibly with LSU is their defense. They listen, Florida bit them for 457, 458 yards, and scored some points. That if they don't get a turnover, Florida was in position to go ahead in the fourth quarter. So their defense. Now, I'm not taking anything away from this victory, the huge victory, LSU, and they were by far the better team. The better team won the football game, no question about it. But what a display of just athletic ability offensively, Chad. They have got it, and the quarterback now, I'm going to tell you, last year was first year with little time to prepare and get to learn the system offensively. But they bring Brady in. They go to a different offensive approach, and he's got a year, the whole spring and summer, to get it down, and he's got some outstanding athletes around him, and he's just tearing it up.
And that's one position too, Coach, as you know, coaching some of the best, working with some of the best. You're now with what Frank Reich has been able to do, as he was the guy that looked up to you, sort of a protege of learning as you drafted him right there in 1984, and the opportunity to move forward in his career. Still has the all-time college and NFL record for best comebacks, and I think a lot of people will remember those games. But you look right now, Coach, at the quarterback play, and that's one job, because if you're a defensive end or an offensive tackle and you're 6'7", 330, you can work on footwork, you can work on technique, but you're probably going to be a big mambo guy in there from day one and crushing the people that you go up against. I mean, you can't teach size, but a QB, there's so many different dynamics that go into it, from the offensive game plan to allowing the coach to give you the opportunity to have the reins to audible or to be able to make the big passes. And what you're seeing from Joe Burrow is the development of a guy that has been able to take that confidence level into a system, and LSU says, let your wings fly. And that is a cool thing to see when somebody in sports is given the go to say, we trust you. Because outside of the names like Mannings and Brady's in the NFL, very, very rarely do you see college allowing players on their team to just be able to dictate and control the offensive tempo. But that's what you're seeing, and LSU's better for it.
Well, coaching has a lot to do with whether it's college or pro. The abilities of a quarterback are on display primarily based on what the coaching staff gives them in the way of help by designing and schematically putting together a game plan, as well as providing the ample help that they need from a talent standpoint around them. And the more they get of each, the better they're going to be. But you have to have some innate qualities about you, some talent, to be able to do that. You got to have a great arm. You got to be able to throw the football. You got to have accuracy. You got to have what I call the third eye. Tua has it, and I think Burrow has it too, and that being the ability to see where a receiver is going to come open based on the pattern run, the route within the pattern, and whether it's man or zone coverage. And sometimes you see Tua throw the ball to a spot because he knows the receiver is going to run through the zone coverage and be there. So anyway, there's a lot to it. You're right. You hit it on the head. But, boy, what a great game for LSU. And that sets up a tremendous meeting coming up right away.
Right now, currently number 1 versus number 2. If it happened today, it'll be a November 9th matchup. A lot of football before that, as LSU will still have to battle against teams like Auburn at Mississippi State, where there's always a little more cowbell. But Bama's got Tennessee and Arkansas, so they might as well just move on to be undefeated at that point, because it will happen. South Carolina, this was a game where a very rare Saturday where I had about 17 games I had to watch taped. I was at this Dragon Boat Festival raising money for Gulf Coast Kids House with Northeast Sertoma, as well with Junior Achievement in Northwest Florida. So we, over the last couple of years, have raised over $200,000 for some great organizations, and it's one I do free each and every year down there for our group, and just had a blast doing it. But it was from 8:30 to 5:30, so I was checking the games on my phone, giving score updates to everybody across the crowd, about 5,000 people there. But the difference was, didn't get to watch any of them live until I went back and fast forward through the games and watched it. And South Carolina made a couple key plays that changed the whole dynamic of the game, that pick six, the little things like that. But I think that you do understand in the SEC, and I don't think Georgia is as good as they've been. They've lost, when you lost 4 receivers last year, that all were top-tier guys. Their 4 best receivers went to the NFL draft, and they left early too. And because of that, you can't just assume, just like Clemson's defensive front, losing Dexter Lawrence and Farrell and guys like Christian Wilkins, you can't assume they're going to be the same team, even though you got 4 and 5 stars replacing them. That's what I've seen in that offense, is the easy passes that Georgia would be able to coast to and be able to come back quickly. Jake Fromm, outside of DeAndre Swift breaking a big play, Jake Fromm doesn't have those huge weapons like we've seen in the past from some of these Georgia teams.
I agree with you, and that's where I disagreed with Danny Sheridan. Danny Sheridan was so high on Georgia. He had Georgia ahead of Alabama, LSU, everybody. I think he felt like he was the best, or Georgia was the best. I disagreed with that, because you can't lose that much talent at the receiver position and expect to have the same results. Now, there's one thing that's disturbing to me about this Georgia game. There is speculation that between some media and press, and the media loves to stir things up like this. It just makes me mad as can be. But anyway, there has been talk already today about Kirby Smart being in hot water. Can you imagine that? The guy has gone there and just done a most outstanding job. And for them, that's just typical media.
Georgia had 20 years of Novocaine with Mark Richt.
Yeah.
They were numb from knowing that they were going to have 3 or 4 losses that they weren't expecting every year. So to lose a game like this, no, that's absolutely asinine.
You're going to lose some. This one hurt. There's no question about it. And especially with Muschamp, being a Georgia alum, coming back to beat him with South Carolina there. But, hey, there's a lot of the season left. And, if they get in that SEC championship game against probably Alabama, could be LSU.
And it was one of those games, too. I remember going back. It was one of those kind of games. The 2 touchdowns from South Carolina, a 45-yard play, which was blown coverage over the top, which was more of a fluke play than a drive. If you see a 10-play, 95-yard drive in 7 minutes, that team has just owned you down the field. When you see a 2-play, 45-yard pass, that happens in football. Guy slips, something happens. South Carolina, other touchdown, 53-yard interception. So their 2 touchdowns were on big plays that can happen in college football with 5-star athletes and 4-star athletes. And that's what you saw. But the difference was what I saw was those plays where Georgia quickly, when they get scored on, they're going to go right down the field and score. There was problems. And that was why with the missed kick, I was a little surprised, Coach. I know your feeling on kickers is when I even bring them up right now to look down at the watch and say we have a lot to get to probably. But when you have a 60-yard kick, Coach, to win in regulation with one of the best kickers in the country. Now, he did miss the kick that would have tied it in overtime. But to me, you've got to attempt that 60-yarder at the end. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I think they had no choice at that point.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the matchup, though, the one thing we know in the SEC, though, Coach, is you can get that hall pass. Now, there was a movie about that going in dating. That will get you a divorce. Don't try that unless you're in some club. That's not a good look. But overall in football, Coach, in the SEC, you get a hall pass. And what I mean by that, if you're Georgia or one of those big dogs, even Florida. Look, Florida and Georgia lost this week. And I'm not saying either of them are going to be – I don't think they're Alabama this year. I think Alabama's the best team. And even though Clemson – I think Ohio State's playing some good football, and that's going to be fun to see. But at this point, if you're Florida or Georgia, if you go out there and you start beating the rest of the way through, if you're Georgia, if you come back and beat Florida, Auburn, and then you go out there and beat Missouri and Texas A&M, which are 4 of the games they have left, and then you beat Alabama in the SEC title game, you're going to the college football playoff. So at this point, even with that loss, Georgia still controls a path to get there. I don't think they're going to get there, but other divisions, other conferences like the Pac-12 and Big 12, when you got that one loss, you're at the bottom of the pecking chart. It's going to take a while to even see your name back there, where Georgia, even though that loss, they can rebound.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Looking at some of the NFL news and notes, Coach, we'll get to more on some of the big games, including, not big game, big blowout by Florida State. It's gotten bad there, by the way.
Yeah, there are a couple of things on college football here before we leave college football. One is Clemson and FSU, and
42-0 at one point.
Clemson had 320 yards rushing.
Jeez.
53 carries.
To me, that's football culture. There's just no energy.
They don't need to exert themselves with the passing game when they've got probably the best quarterback in football, college football. But anyway, it shows something. And Clemson, this is their MO. They build through the season, and they have the ability to do that because of the weak ACC they play in. Mm-hmm. And the other one, let me just throw this out before we go to break. I'm going to tell you, keep your hat on with Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a heck of a football team. I like this football team. Now, this week should have been the turning point on their acceptance as being one of the top football teams in the country. They played Michigan State. They shut them out 38-0. 38-0. Now, people have said all along, well, Wisconsin can't play defense. Baloney. They may be. Listen, I'm hearing from some of my couple of my friends, they may be the best defensive team in the country, including Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, anybody. If that is the case, and we'll find out when they play Ohio State, but if that is the case, listen, that you may be talking about our national champion right there.
Yeah, that would be fun for they've been jumping around in Madison for a long time and haven't got a ring, so that would be fun to watch. And I think anybody over the age of, I'd say, 50 that's ever been involved in college football, Coach, getting to see somebody like Wisconsin and the way they play with everything, and even at the peewee level, at the high school level, getting to watch a few minutes of Wisconsin, even if you fell on the wrong channel and your battery remote got stuck. Whatever it is, each and every week, Wisconsin brings back some old school roots of just the old days of playing football. Coach, it's they still do it the old power right down your throat. It is 3rd down and 5, and guess what? We're running the football because we're stronger than you, and we're going to pick up 6.
Well,
and it's fun to see.
Think about this, and think about 2 things that you've heard all your life that are true. They're constants, and they travel well. What are the 2 things in college or pro football that will give you the best chance to win a football game and will also travel well, depending on the weather? Weather doesn't matter.
Paying your players and only talking about it in one sport, right? No, okay, never mind. Yeah.
1 is a great defense, and 2 is running the football. If you can do those 2 things and they can't stop you, you're probably going to win the football game. And they have, number 1 right now, they have the best rushing attack probably in football, certainly the top back for running the football, best offensive line, I think. They're the biggest, strongest. And now what they're doing defensively, Chad, is I'm telling you, it should be an eye-opener to everybody.
It's incredible. Maybe this week, instead of watching NFL films or game films on their own team, they should watch Wisconsin and how they played out there to give them a shot. So maybe that'll be better. Be like, look, see these guys running over people and you are playing 2-hand touch. You don't have to grab Clemson's flag. There's not one around their shorts. When we come back, we're going to get to more what's going on right now in the NFL. Big week as the Saints and Patriots continue to win. However, Brady Breeze, one of them's not even playing right now. But how about the defense? The defense showing up in a big way for 2 of the top-tier teams. For the Cowboys, it seems like it is the apocalypse happening, but they're still in first place in the NFC East. Not saying much about that division. We're coming back for more. It's Talk Football with Coach K. Thanks to all of our great sponsors, including the Levin Papantonio Law Firm. One of the best law firms, not only here in Pensacola, but representing the country. The awards, the accolades, what Fred Levin and his whole team has done is incredible. And we are lucky, as a close friend of yours, Coach. I know you're not only talking about one of the best, the national awards. When he goes out there to conferences in Las Vegas, he's the first one, the keynote type speaker. And you guys have an opportunity, such a great relationship, and one of our top-tier sponsors here of this.
Yeah, it's not only what they're capable of doing, because I don't know if people understand that they were one of the first law firms to completely adopt the team approach to defending or going after whatever court case they have.
Sounded like Florida State's defenses.
Not hardly, but they have the team approach. And 2, Chad, think about all that they've done from a charity standpoint in this area, giving us all a better standard of living than most people in the country.
It's incredible. And so many great sponsors of the show, and we'll get to them throughout the broadcast, making this show possible to have a former NFL coach in with us each and every week as we have a chance to talk some NFL, college football, and more. It's all coming back. It's Talk Football with Coach K, another exciting week in football.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. If you're tailgating before the game, don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where every day is Saturday, and everyone's a fan, even babies.
Fan babies.
And the seasons never change, because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
A change in season means it's time to check your tires, and Goodyear Auto Service has just what you need to make this fall great. Think weekend getaways, scenic drives, and great deals, like up to $225 in savings this month. That's $75 in instant savings when you purchase and install a set of 4 new Goodyear or Dunlop tires, plus up to $150 back on select tires by online or mail-in rebate when you use your Goodyear credit card. But hurry, this offer ends October 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Visit GoodyearAutoservice.com to learn more.
The Paul Feinbaum Show.
Everything you wanted to happen hasn't happened.
Oh, my gosh. That's all any of y'all want to talk about is Alabama.
You're really not understanding the conversation, but anyway, we can move on.
Alabama's dynasty has just begun.
Hold on a second, Charles. Somebody wants to talk to you.
I don't want to talk that compelling moron.
He's nothing but a lame-headed old man.
2 till 5 every weekday afternoon. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're out of your freaking mind, cowturd.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola. Always fun here on a Monday to get to all the big stories and more. 12:24. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chad Brilliante alongside former NFL coach Kay Stevenson, breaking down a big week. Just got to all the big games. The LSU victory moving them to number 2 in the polls. Clemson dropping to number 3, even though they're up 42-0 on Florida State. LSU gets that spot. Deservingly so to move up. The polls are just for people water cooler talk. With the college football playoff system, you sort of control your own path when you're up there losing games. But do you think LSU should have jumped Clemson, in your opinion, to number 2 in the polls?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if we're doing this based on, which they keep talking, this committee, when they meet, and they will continually talk about, listen, this is not what they've done before. This is who is the best right now? Who would represent the very best in college football? Well, if polls, which I think polls should do, shouldn't be based on last year, should be based on this year only. Right now, Clemson wouldn't be in the top 5. You got Alabama, you got LSU, you've got Ohio State, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and maybe Clemson comes in after that. But they don't come in ahead of any of those people right now. Now, that's not to say they won't. They're probably going to be there as one of the 4 because
their path is the easiest of all of them.
Their path is the easiest, yeah. But the SEC teams are going to knock each other off, and there'll be 2 going from there, and then you're going to have Clemson will be undefeated, and they'll be right in there as one of the 4.
You're right, Coach. Yeah, I've been told that based on it is not last year that my team in UCF will not be having a fake national title party this year. So we will not be having a fake national title parade after our losses. And I'm over it by now. You lose to Cincinnati and a few other teams, and it's pretty bad. Coach, over this week we got Green Bay, and we got a big game going on tonight against Detroit. Any of keys to this game and who's going to get the victory?
Well, this is a big game tonight. There's no doubt about that. I think Green Bay and Detroit, this is a tough division, and you're talking about maybe the 2 best teams in the division that are going to be playing each other. 2 of the toughest, obviously, but all four teams are very, very good. But I think it's going to be a heck of a ball game, back and forth. It's going to depend on how well Green Bay can play defense tonight, because Detroit's going to play defense and play well. But I do give the edge. I give the edge to Green Bay with the quarterback being home through there at Lambeau.
850-623-1330 is the number. We have a caller, Jonah, on the line to ask Coach K a question here on Talk Football with Coach K after an exciting weekend. Jonah, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Good, Jonah. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm Coach K, as I'm sure you're aware. It was a bad weekend for not only my Cowboys, but also for the Georgia Bulldogs. I really can't wrap my mind around which one was worse, my Cowboys defense or my Bulldogs offense. I want to see which one you thought had the worst showing and which one you think has the most room for improvement going forward.
Okay. Well, we've talked about before the Georgia offense. I think their whole receiving core was just depleted after last year. So they're really, you're talking about a first-class quarterback. I think the quarterback is absolutely at the top of the list. I think they're good offensively, but they're not as potent, and they certainly don't have the big play capability that they had last year. So Georgia's offense, I don't think they had the ability to rebound to the and be able to play to the productive level that they played at last year. Now, the Cowboys, that's a great question. Defensively, they're better than they're playing, but it's not just defensively. It's both sides of the ball. Overall, their football team has to play better. They've got better talent on there than most people in the league, and they're not playing up to that talent. Now, granted, the left tackle was out last night. Top receiver was out, so they get those people back, and it's going to help tremendously. But they got to crank up their running game. Our great running back there can talk about other people all he wants, but he's got to do a better job himself. So I think Dallas would have a better chance because of their overall talent level to overcome whatever doldrums they're in right now. Georgia's got a tough road to hoe to try to get that talent back.
All right, well, I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the call right there. 850-623-1330, the number. For Dallas, Coach, I think there's a couple things. One, you just talked about with Smith out, how important it is, how vital to have that left tackle. And the second that he went out a few weeks ago, was watching the game, and the left tackle was just humiliated on the next play. And that's so important, especially for a quarterback that already is not one of those that knows he can three-step drop and throw just a dart. He's one of those guys that has to create. So if you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off every single play because you're not protected from your blind side, it's going to lead to a lot of chaos. And frankly, to tell you the truth with Dallas, just my opinion, their defense is good enough to win any game in the NFC. Their offense right now, they have playmakers, but they have select playmakers. And if those guys don't show up, like you said, if Amari Cooper doesn't have a big game, a grand game, a 9-catch, 160 type game, if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't rush for 150 yards, these things don't happen. Their offense doesn't dominate the football game where other teams can go to so many different options to win games.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I certainly would. But I do think that they're so talented if they do put it together. Now, there's a big if there.
Mm-hmm.
Putting it together means a great coaching job. It means some tremendous leadership from your players. It means more dedication from your players. So many intangibles there that you can't put your finger on. You know?
I mean, and that division, too. You're sitting there. Washington played in the Somebody Has to Win Bowl this week against Miami, and they're sitting there, Coach, only 2 games back of first place. So it's funny how that division is completely shooken up. And remember, we've seen games like where Seattle beat New Orleans in Seattle and got home field advantage for that game at 7-9 a few years back. So it can happen, but this looks like a division where it might go down the path of 10-6, 9-7 at best is going to win it. And that's the facts. Dallas is getting put in the – look, they created – the media created the image to me that this was a great team. We knew that New England was a really good team. We knew Kansas City's offense was going to be very good. We knew teams like New Orleans, when healthy, because of the way they've been drafting, was going to be really good. I'm surprised how bad the Rams have looked at times, but San Francisco has become the real deal, and you saw that coming, Coach. But for Dallas, I never was a believer that this team was going to be 14-2 or 13-3. They're the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, even if he gets paid like it. And they always have to abide by a coach that is going to make some poor decisions, and a manager and an owner that is going to try to control everything. And the culture around there is not always going to be easy when one bad day and it feels like the wheels are falling off when right now they're tied at 3-3 with Philly for the division at first place.
I would agree totally. I think there has to be a major change there, major undertaking on the culture of that whole organization, because it's not conducive to winning right now.
Currently, real quick, as before we get out for the break and get to all the big games, leaders in the NFL right now per division, the New England Patriots at 6-0, Baltimore checking in at 4-2, Houston and Indianapolis, both 2 losses in the AFC South, Kansas City sitting there at 4-2 silently. How are the Oakland Raiders 3-2? You know what I'm saying? I looked over there. I was like, wait a second. How's that? I thought you're 0-5. But no, they're 3-2, looking good right now. Well, the Chargers is Phillip Rivers hit that age spot, or is it just now? Or is it the 5 fans that show up to cheer them in that stadium? Because it was a Pittsburgh home game this week.
Almost. It's amazing. But when I was with the Rams out there, we played teams from the East, especially New York or Philadelphia, places like that. We'd have more opposing fans there than home fans in the Coliseum. But that's part of California, Southern California.
There you go. Devlin Hodges, a quarterback that was making duck calls, going out there and winning Stanford University. So getting it done last night in the win and had a huge lead.
By the way, I don't think, to answer your question, I do not think Phillip Rivers is done by any stretch. I think there are other circumstances that we don't have time to get down in the weeds on right now.
Absolutely. Philadelphia at 3-3, Green Bay 4-1, New Orleans 5-1, and the San Francisco 49ers at 5-0, leading the divisions. When we come back, we'll get to more on the big stories, including the New Orleans Saints. We'll get to some more college football talk and back into New England and San Francisco, how Bill Belichick and the culture has created an incredible 11-0 start for both those teams. It's all coming back right here. It's Talk Football with former NFL coach Kay Stevenson each and every weekday from 12 to 1 right here on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. If you're tailgating before the game, don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents, which means you're going to start telling your kids to clean up before the cleaning lady comes. Doesn't make sense, but you're the parent and they're the kids. You're going to start telling them that now, too. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance. And there's your opening to remind them who pays the bills around here. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
If you have frequent heartburn, take control of it with Prilosec OTC, instead of stashing antacids everywhere, like in your junk drawer, buried under old batteries and hotel pens, or in your purse, hiding in the one pocket you won't check. You even have antacids on your nightstand, which are very hard to see in the dark. It's time you stopped stashing antacids and started taking Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Uses directed for 14 days, not for immediate relief.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back. It's Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante alongside Coach K Stevenson, having some fun. A great week in college football and the NFL, and more to come. This is where the contenders and pretenders start to separate, and we're going to get some more on all the big games. Coach, one of the games I want to talk to, because you've always sort of been, and so far you've been accurate on this, but everybody wanted to jump on the 16-0 shuttle with Patrick Mahomes, it seemed, in Kansas City real fast in the NFL this year, before they even played a game, just based on that he throws for a lot of yards, not wanting to pay attention that the 11 guys on their defense were average at best. They had no running game except like a guy seeing ARP and LaShawn McCoy, and they had a team that had 2 injuries to their key targets in Sammy Watkins, who's been out, and then Tyreek Hill, they finally got back. Made an amazing catch this week, but overall, they've got problems on that team, and now sitting with back-to-back losses this week at home. Both games at home, their losses, in one of the supposed tough places in Arrowhead over the years to play. So Kansas City, I think you're sitting there thinking, yep, sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, everybody's jumped on they've jumped on this kid's band. I've never seen
so many. Yeah.
Never's a long time, but I have never seen any rush to judgment like the public and the media has done with this guy. I've never seen it. Now, he had an outstanding year, and he is very talented with his arm. You know, most of what he does is he throws off platform, more so than people have ever seen. So that eventually will get him in trouble. You can't do that forever. You got to be able to stand in there and throw the football. Now, their biggest problem, we have to admit right now, is their defense. Their defense is playing terrible, but also they're not getting the same play. I mean, now all of a sudden Watson wins this. Yesterday, the media kind of put this threw this out as the big matchup between Watson and Mahomes, and it's like the two guys that have won 6 Super Bowls apiece, are going to play each other like a Manning-Brady deal.
Yes, as they've combined for one playoff victory together.
And now, after the ball game, Watson, all I hear last night, Watson for MVP. It's amazing how it's funny. It really is.
Yeah. Don't let anybody know that Carolina went in there and beat them 16-10 in Houston. Just don't let anybody know that. Just keep this MVP. Or they only scored 13 points against Jacksonville. Just don't remind people of that right there. Yeah, we live in a society that every single week, like you were saying to start the show, how there are actually people looking for Kirby Smart at his job for losing one game.
It's just crazy.
I mean, it's asinine how ridiculous people think every single week. Not everybody. I'm going to tell you right now. Not every coach is Bill Belichick. Not every coach is Nick Saban. Not everybody's the Patriots. Not everybody's the Crimson Tide. We all need to humbly appreciate if your team is winning football games, because most of them out there, for every team that's winning, somebody is losing. So let's zip that. If your team hasn't won in 25 years, don't expect them to go out there and this year go 16-0. Just throwing that out there as well. Let's get to a little on Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady. Both the culture of what has been created by Bill Belichick, a guy that came from Eastern Illinois, and another quarterback that was a 6th-rounder that wasn't even going to get a chance to play unless it was for a freak injury right there from Drew Bledsoe on one of the hardest hits. I think I still heard that from my couch watching that game with my dad that day on Mo Lewis. But looking at Bill Belichick, he didn't want to get you. There was a lot of stuff that, because of the way the Patriots culture, that did not go to the public, but some people were trying to throw out feelers or big, bold 48 font saying, hey, everybody is in turmoil over this. But you could tell one thing that was true. Belichick really, really did not want to get rid of Garoppolo, and you can see why now that what he has done to dominate. And as a starter coach, 13-2, and I know you've been saying this for a very long time about the young kid.
Yeah, I like Garoppolo, but that doesn't answer the question about Belichick. I'm sure that Belichick did. But as far as this being a disruption within the organization, no.
No, because they haven't fallen off at all. I mean, they're getting better.
Exactly, and they are talking about a rift this made between the owner and the coach. No, because the owner of that football team is a part of the solution to being what they are. And he leaves all football decisions up to Belichick. And Belichick makes them. Now, he is smart enough to have, he brings in other people that are experts in the field that he wants information on. And he takes that into account, but he makes the final decision. The final decision was they had to, because of contract negotiations and so on, to stay within their framework of cap space and be able to provide some raises to other people. They pretty much had to make the trade. Belichick is a guy that he and the owner agreed on it, and they make the trade. No, yeah, would he rather have been able to keep Garoppolo? Yeah. You know what? I really sense some of the same type appreciation that he has for the kid from Auburn.
Stidham.
Yeah, Darryl Stidham. I really think that he likes Stidham, and he should. I've said since Stidham made the decision to go to Auburn that he's a heck of a quarterback.
Well, right now, that's one thing that you can say what you want with Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady, and they have done a great job as coaches. I mean, as quarterbacks this season under two good offensive minds. But both of those teams are complete teams. Everybody today wants to focus on one player, and I always joke. Everybody goes to the ring comments on things. Marino's got none. Brady's got 6, and Brady has done a lot to carry a lot of teams that were okay with him. This is one of the best teams as a Patriot fan that watches every play of the 60 Minutes, that also has watched San Francisco. The development of the defensive fronts and the pressure they get on quarterbacks and the plays they don't miss assignment is one of the big reasons why they're not only teams that have good leaders at quarterback, but these are two legit teams. And I'll tell you today, I'm not saying it because they're undefeated. If the season ended today, it would be, to me, the Patriots, not by record, but best teams, Patriots, San Francisco, and I think the Saints, the way they've stayed undefeated without Drew Brees. To me, it's those three teams, and everybody else can fight and argue all they want.
Yeah, let me tell you something very, very interesting. The job that over the years that Brady has done with less talent than other quarterbacks have had, but because the combination of Brady, Belichick, and the coaching and dedication, the system, the whole piece put together has been their winning edge. Right now, Chad, I will tell you, the Patriots may have the worst receiving corps in the National Football League. How do you play in the National Football League with no receivers? They've got one, the Jet, right now. That's not hurt. That he's still got sore ribs. Mm-hmm. Edelman.
Yeah.
But he's playing. He's played through them because he had to. They don't have any more. They don't have any more receivers.
Not so high on Gordon lately, except for himself.
Gordon has just been a very average receiver, and now he's hurt. Who knows whether he's going to be dependable for the rest of the year. I just don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Surely they're out there trying to bring in some other receivers right now to help going down the stretch. I mean, they've got to have them. And no tight end. They've lost Gronkowski too. So
yep. And he's gone back to high school, so he can learn to be a broadcaster on Fox now. So he's he's having fun out there.
Anyway, it's just people don't realize. They think, the Patriots are the. Mm-hmm. No, they're not the best team right now. They got they're doing a great job defensively, and it's Brady, Belichick, and their defense.
You're good in sports when you're winning games by 21 points, like they did this week against the Giants. They won the game by 21. They covered the spread in Vegas, and it was a down week. Most people would say watching that game, that wasn't the best Patriot team they've seen, and they win by 21. That's when you know you're good. Not like one of those games like Washington and Miami where somebody actually had to win. Oof, what a bad game. I mean, that's an embarrassment to the NFL. But next year, one of them will probably have Tua, and they'll look a lot better. So them and the Bengals are in the sweepstakes. The Jets now figured out how to win games with Darnold, so I don't think they need a quarterback. They'll be okay. When we come back, we're going to get to more on the Baker Mayfield situation as well, and as a former NFL coach, why the comments Baker is making, whether it's good for the media, whether it's good for the people out there rooting because they feel like everybody's entitled to their own opinion at any point in life, whatever it is, as a former NFL coach, Coach K. Stevenson's going to tell you why he needs to just maybe shut his trap for a little while so everybody else can enjoy some of the victories down the road. They're not out of it just yet, but 2-4, not a good start. We're coming back for more. It's Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. And also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Dude, it's game day, and I'm fired up that football is back.
I know, but I'm bummed they don't show my favorite team on TV around here.
All right, well, what about that place Calvert's? They're a really cool English pub-style restaurant, and they have a really good drink menu.
Yeah, but what about the game?
Don't worry, they have the NFL Sunday ticket and plenty of TVs, so we can watch any game that we want.
Ooh, I just looked at the menu, and that Abbey Road burger is calling my name.
Calvert's in the Heights Restaurant and Bar, 3102 East Urbana Street, calvertsintheheights.com.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Stephen A. Smith here. If you're like me, you have a mortgage and a family who depends on your income, then you need to protect the ones you love with life insurance. Life insurance can help pay off a mortgage or send the kids to college. It's peace of mind. Think you can afford it? Chances are Select Quote can help you get it for less than $1 a day. Select Quote comparison shops up to 10 highly rated companies, including Prudential, Banner Life, and Mutual of Omaha, and others, to find you the company with the best rates. For example, Select Quote could find a 35-year-old man a $500,000 policy for under $21 a month. That's less than $1 a day. Select Quote's breakthrough technology allows them to quickly match you with the best insurance company to find your best policy. Plus, quotes are free. Start protecting your family today. Call Select Quote at 1-800-601-6992. That's 1-800-601-6992. Or go to selectquote.com/Smith.
Get full details in the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
The key on offense is going to be whether Franks can come back and duplicate what he did in the last 4 games.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Welcome to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Pensacola's home to the best talk in sports, new and improved. We are ESPN Pensacola, 1330 and FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. We're into the fourth quarter here as our final segment, talking about the biggest games from LSU jumping to number 2 in the poll, quite possibly setting up Alabama 1 and LSU 2 in a few weeks, and always one of the most anticipated matchups. Coach, is that the best matchup over the last decade in college football? I would have to say yes. It's been consistent, which even though LSU is lost by some points, the anticipation for that game always seems like a make-or-break, do-or-die type game. I would say.
I think it's been big on the radar. I'm not sure, Chad,
maybe
to be honest with
Clemson, Alabama, because but that's not a schedule game. They just have played 4 straight years. Clemson, Alabama would be that game, but it's not a scheduled game. It's
and you're still talking about on the national level, though.
Yes.
You're still talking about Ohio State, Michigan, and you're still talking about. There are a couple of others, Notre Dame and USC and whatever. But no, I would say Alabama, LSU is, if not the best, it's certainly one of the top 2 or 3.
And personally, I don't I don't dislike Michigan, but seeing Jim Harbaugh lose once in a while brings a smile to my face.
Yeah.
Let's go to some NFL talk. It's so funny. We were just talking, and we're in it. Coach K and I both host the everyday shows right here on ESPN Pensacola, the two local voices, and then Davis and Justin, the folks on the weekend with the sports call. But one thing is, Coach, the media dictates so much today. You can watch CNN or MSNBC and Fox News and feel like we're in two separate countries. You can watch anything in sports and, get two different types of viewpoints on it. But when it comes to quarterback play, I've heard so many people talking about pushing, is Brady done? Is he old over the hill? When they're the Super Bowl champions at 42 and sitting at 6-0, the best record in the NFL, and on a path to win and coast again. And then you've got, Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes deemed to be the next great disciples of sports. And all of a sudden, one's sitting at 2-4 and one's lost back-to-back games at home. And I know it takes a whole team, but combined, they had not won anything ever. But we just want to focus on immediately making people Hall of Fame and the greatest ever, making statues before they played 5 games.
It's unbelievable what approach the media takes toward all this. It's in a way, it's disgusting to me. I mean, let's take a little test. If everybody's totally honest with themselves, let's say that Santa Claus came along today and gave you an NFL team, and you can play in the Super Bowl in a week or week and a half, okay? And he says, you choose right now. You can choose any coach that you want. I would bet you're probably going to choose Belichick. Now, you can choose any quarterback that you want to quarterback your team. You're going to play in a week. You're going to play in the Super Bowl. Who would you take? I'd be very, very honest with yourself. I would bet most of you would. I know for a fact I would take none other than Brady. The nearest one to him would be Rodgers, and the nearest one to him would be Breeze. Okay? There's no way in the world I'm going to put all my marbles on a guy that's had a year, a little over a year, another guy that's had a couple of big ball games, and another guy he runs his mouth too much. No way I'm going to put my money there. I'll take Tom Brady every day. To me, the most valuable player. He's not even mentioned now because they want to mention all these other people. Now, I'll tell you who should be in the running to me for most valuable player would be right now between maybe Brady. I think Russell Wilson has to be in that conversation. And we'll see what happens tonight. It'll be a good indication on Rodgers.
Well, Coach, I got to say one thing, though. I think Jameis Winston is now in the running as well for his performance for the Carolina Panthers this week. Oh, wait, he played for Tampa. Okay, thank you. Right. Five interceptions. Maybe he got to check out Big Ben and all the sites in London right there. But, yeah, nothing like waking up to a game probably you didn't even know was happening and already seeing 4 interceptions from one guy in the first half. Pretty sad right there. Well, Coach, we got a few minutes left. I want to get to a little more on some of the biggest stories from the weekend. And at this point, do you agree or disagree? Georgia still is a team that can find a way back to the college football playoff this year.
Yes, I think they can. Certainly the path is very, very well lit, if you will. I mean, all they got to do is
that's just run the SEC and beat Bama.
They got to run the SEC, and they got to get to the SEC championship game and beat, realistically, either Alabama or LSU.
Yeah.
Okay, if that happens, they'll probably be one of the 4 teams.
Yeah.
Absent that, which could very well happen because Georgia, I'm telling you, we talked about it before, Georgia's handicapped without those receivers. They just don't have any big chunk play ability.
To you, what are you looking forward to the most right now? Ohio State, Wisconsin, or LSU, Alabama?
Well, obviously in this area we're looking to LSU, Alabama. But I'm looking also forward to Wisconsin, Ohio State, and I really think and pulling for Wisconsin, I think they've got a good football team. And if this continues to go as it's going with them defensively, Chad, I would beg to argue with anybody. But They're one of the best.
Well, Coach, just always appreciate having the opportunity. I know there's so much to talk about as we're going to continue with the Roll Tide radio show, so I won't be getting up. We'll have a chance to come back tomorrow and talk some more NFL. We'll get to the big games and more. Never enough time to talk this much NFL, but always appreciate working with you.
Same here, Chad.
Appreciate it. For Coach K. Stevenson, for all the great sponsors, the Levin Papantonio Law Firm, and all the folks from Tom Thumb to all of our friends at Bob Tyler and more, thank you for tuning in right here to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
Bringing your high school football every Friday night, UWF football on Saturdays, and the NFL on Sundays. If you would like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines. In the MLB, Carlos Correa belted a walk-off home run on the first pitch of the bottom of the 11th inning to lift the Houston Astros over the New York Yankees 3-2 and even up the series in the American League Championship Series at 1 game apiece. Correa also played at the game's first run with an RBI double in the second inning. Astros starter Justin Verlander went 6 2/3, giving up only a 2-run shot to Aaron Judge in the fourth inning. In the NFL, Deshaun Watson threw a touchdown pass and added 2 scores on the ground to help the Houston Texans beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-24. Tyreek Hill returned from a shoulder injury to catch 2 of Patrick Mahomes' 3 touchdown passes, but the Kansas City Chiefs were slowed by the Texans' defense after jumping out to a 17-3 first quarter lead. The San Francisco 49ers are 5-0 for the first time since 1990 after clamping down on the struggling Los Angeles Rams 20-7 for a road win. The New Orleans Saints shut down rookie quarterback Gardner Minshew en route to beating the Jacksonville Jaguars 13-3. Jared Cook scored the game's only touchdown with 11:49 remaining on a 4-yard touchdown pass from Teddy Bridgewater. The Seattle Seahawks defense forced 4 turnovers, and Russell Wilson threw for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Seahawks rallied to beat the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. And in college football, LSU had the biggest jump in the polls, climbing up to number 2 behind Alabama, giving the SEC the top 2 teams in the rankings for the 29th time. LSU moves up 3 spots after their 42-28 win over Florida, who fell back 2 spots to number 9. Clemson comes in at number 3, while Ohio State is 4. Oklahoma moves up a spot to number 5. And Georgia, they fall back all the way to number 10 after their double overtime loss to South Carolina. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines for ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Gordon Auto Wholesale says yes. No credit, bad credit, bankruptcies, no problem. Over 250 vehicles in stock. Third-row SUVs and trucks. Everyone's approved. Gordon Auto Wholesale is the bank and can help you get into a nice, clean vehicle. Carfax checked. Need a new car? Gordon Auto says yes. Can't buy one from the other dealers? Come see Gordon Auto Wholesale on Palafox just 2 blocks south of Airport. Or call 479-9200. That's 479-9200.
A change in season means it's time to check your tires, and Goodyear Auto Service has just what you need to make this fall great. Think weekend getaways, scenic drives, and great deals, like up to $225 in savings this month. That's $75 in instant savings when you purchase and install a set of 4 new Goodyear or Dunlop tires, plus up to $150 back on select tires by online or mail-in rebate when you use your Goodyear credit card. But hurry, this offer ends October 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Visit GoodyearAutoservice.com to learn more.
If you're a small business owner, there's no better place to find the impact hire to help your business than LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs takes the time to learn more about who you're looking for and then recommends qualified candidates from their community of engaged and career-minded people, candidates who you likely won't be able to reach anywhere else. The truth is, over 70% of the U.S. workforce is on LinkedIn, and posting your job on LinkedIn gives you the best chance of finding and starting a conversation with your next star recruit. It's no surprise a new hire is made every 8 seconds using LinkedIn. So build your winning team by posting a job on LinkedIn and visit linkedin.com/sports to get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports for $50 off your first job post. LinkedIn.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome into Roll Tide Radio right here on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. My biggest test this week will be to remember the names of each and every one of the shows, as we will go from Talk Football with Coach K to Roll Tide Radio today. Tomorrow will be the Go Gators show for Florida. On Wednesday will be Tomahawk Top, and then if I a couple Red Bulls and caffeines later. And I'll be back with the Sports Drive coming up here at 5 to 7. But always excited as, you know what, it's football season. This is what we live for. That's why we got into the business, Coach. It is awesome. Literally, you got into the business and actually had a chance to be on the sidelines. People like me grew up watching coaches like you and having the opportunity. So always a privilege, and appreciate you staying around to talk some Alabama football today. Yeah, Alabama's like that guy that messes with that cat, and he always holds over the toy, and the cat just sits there, not like a puppy dog, just being like, one of these days in your sleep, I'm going to come up to your face and just scratch the heck out of you. And that the cats don't play games. Cats just are like, I don't have time for your games. I'm going to sleep. You're going to feed me. I'm going to get fat, and that's what we're going to do. Well, Alabama goes out there, and it seems every single game, they're giving these teams false hope. False impressions. Texas A&M gets out to a 7-0 start at the almost end of the first quarter. Fans are grumbling, oh, wow, this is going to end up, next thing you know, it's 42-14. I mean, they did that with Duke. It was 0-0 going into the second quarter. Last year with the Citadel until they put 42 straight points. They're just messing with these players. They're messing with these teams. So everybody, next time, please don't give me 75 text messages to say, uh-oh, Alabama's on upset alert, if it's not after halftime. I mean, 7-0 has become now, it's about to go down. And so Texas A&M had one drive and scored. Everything from that point on was, once again, an Alabama victory.
Why, sure, and it was what we expected.
Exactly. Coach, seeing that game, it was a busy Saturday with a lot of big games. So that was one of those kind of games at 2:30. It was the SEC Gary and Vern game of the week right there, or now Gary and Brad. But looking at Alabama in this week, very similar to almost every week, it was a 47-28 win, a game that they were able to continue to beat them up. But the physicality, I want to ask you as a head coach, because you played in an NFL where you played and you coached in an NFL that's different than it was at all today, meaning that it was a physical game. It was a game in the trenches, won by Warriors, not as much today, where you don't even have to hit anybody, but if you spread the ball wide in a Big 12 offense, you can score 60 points. When you look at Alabama, they're one team that I notice more than anything, with their depth and their strength and conditioning. Coach, they physically abuse teams to the point where late you can see teams are gassed. You can see teams, they get up because it's their national championship when you play Alabama every week. So they'll be up, everybody's exciting, cannons are going off in Kyle Field, and then the next thing you know, they're gassed by the third quarter. I've seen this every single week, and it's the nature of the depth and the beast that the Crimson Tide have created that was more apparent back in the day of winning those games in the trenches, but they still stay to those roots, and hey, it's won them, last time I checked, 5 national titles here late.
Yeah, well, they've changed quite a bit offensively. My gosh.
Yes, they do throw the ball.
From 15 years ago, if somebody looked at Alabama today as opposed to 12 to 15 years ago, you'd say, what team is playing? But what they do is so well done, let's put it that way. I mean, I love watching Alabama play because they've great design. They have outstanding players. Got the best receiving core. My gosh, if the Patriots had their receiving core, they'd own the world right now. But they and Tua is just an outstanding quarterback with the third eye, what I call the third eye. And offensively, their coaches are doing a very, very good job of designing an offense that is meant to put you down early. I mean, it's big chunk play after play after play, and they've got the people that can do it. So they do it. They continue to do it, and just do it. Even though I think they do have a good running game, rushing game. I think they're strong up front, and I think they have a couple of good running backs. But when you're getting the chunks that they're getting, especially early in the ball game, why depend on the running game?
Looking at a team like Alabama, they know at this point, at 6-0, they're ranked number 1 in the nation, a 47-28 win over Texas A&M. Tua had another game where, at this point, even though Joe Burrow is playing incredible, I think that game will put whoever between Jonathan Taylor in the game he'll play against Ohio State for Wisconsin and the game between Joe Burrow and Tua will probably solidify who's in the lead for the Heisman Trophy. Would you agree with that?
I would. I'll tell you, you talk about an exciting ball game that everyone in the country, I would bet, is going to want to see. It's Tua versus Burrow, LSU versus Alabama.
Coach, I respect your decision a ton because you played quarterback in the NFL. You coached some of the great quarterbacks, and you have a good mind for the game, obviously, as an NFL coach and player. Do you feel that there is a huge drop-off from Tua and Joe Burrow in the NFL? And I know Burrow has come on more consistent lately, but there was a reason Urban Meyer and Ohio State wanted him so bad, and then LSU wanted him so bad when there was the opportunity as well. He's gaining more confidence. Tua's been consistent, it seems, from day one, outside of a high ankle sprain and some of the things he did late into the season. But do you feel that, because right now everybody is making the tank for Tua kind of comments in the NFL and making him just the clear-cut number 1, but we did that with, when Baker Mayfield was number 1 pick, we made him into this next savior, and then you're seeing guys like Gardner Minshew and other guys that nobody even heard of. They're getting their opportunities. Do you see a big difference between Joe Burrow and what Tua can accomplish at the next level in the NFL?
No, I see them both being outstanding prospects for the National Football League. Now, it's a little early yet to be talking about draft and which one will go where. I predict that one of them will go maybe first pick in the draft, and maybe both of them will go with 1A and 1B. I don't know. But I know they're both outstanding quarterback prospects for the National Football League and will have great careers if given the right opportunities.
Coming up will be the Paul Feinbaum Show at 2, and obviously you're going to hear a lot of shaking up. I'm sure Daryl's going to call about his Georgia Bulldogs and berate everybody, and you're going to have all the regular callers letting you know why Georgia stinks and all this. In football it happens once in a while, and the process, but for the SEC in general, because it's the SEC in general is known as the best conference, and it's been the best conference. But there are, to me, more than ever today in college football, you got to look across the board. There are good football teams sometimes in bad conferences. But when Georgia lost this week to South Carolina, remember, this is the same South Carolina team that lost to North Carolina early in the year. They weren't that good of a team. Do you look at this loss and say, this makes the SEC less valuable if Alabama goes out and beats a Georgia later down the road? Or is this just college football at its finest, and once in a while teams have that type of game?
Well, it's like most things, it's a combination of the two. Now, we can't deny. We could sit here and deny it all we want, but it's not true. If you don't think that those people that put the final vote in on who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not going to factor in the Georgia loss to South Carolina, you're sadly mistaken. Because if anybody's near, I just don't see anybody being near if they run the table. As I said, I think the path is there and it's very clear. Now, it's going to be factored in there, but I think it'll be before. Where it will hurt is before the Alabama game or LSU, whoever they play for the SEC championship. After that, it's all going to be based on the championship game, and it won't matter one way or the other.
When we come back, we're going to get to more on the Alabama Crimson Tide victory as they are able to go out, win in Texas A&M, a game at the beginning of the season. A lot of people were marking on the calendar as one of the biggest games of the year. Actually, ESPN in their early rankings had this as game number 6 overall. This game this week might have been about third or fourth on the list after LSU and Florida. Games that we knew were going to be big, like Michigan State and Wisconsin. But still, for Crimson Tide fans, nothing like getting a couple Bama score shots and getting a couple Roll Tides in there, as a huge victory, 47-28, now moves to 6-0, number 1 in the country. That's one spot where, unless they lose, they're probably not giving that up with the schedule ahead. And some people would say this was their first true test, their first big game. Well, we won't be saying that coming up here when they take on LSU, Auburn, and the potential of a Florida or a Georgia out of the SEC East. When we come back, we'll break down more of the big victory, hear from Nick Saban, get to more with former NFL coach Kay Stevenson, and take your calls right here. It's the Roll Tide Radio Show, brought to you by Gordon Auto Wholesale. When everybody else says no, they say yes, right there on North Palafox, 2 blocks south of Airport Boulevard. Give them a call today at 479-9200. They're open all the way up until 5:30 today, answering all your questions. And Eddie Gordon, a lifelong Alabama Crimson Tide fan. So just like the Crimson Tide, sitting there at 6-0, baby. We're coming back for more right here on Roll Tide Radio.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Friday nights in the fall are a magical time. It's Friday Night Lights, where new stars are born, where agony meets victory. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, and sister station News Radio 92.3 AM, 1620 brings you all play-by-play coverage during the week's best matchup. We are football. We are Friday Night Lights. This Friday night at 7, the Washington Wildcats take on the Tate Aggies. Hear it right here on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Sports commentary, legendary interviews, in-studio guests, expert opinions. It's the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante.
A guy like Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, they know they could go to another team and put up freakish numbers, but sharing the wealth across the board makes them a better team.
Catch up on the day's biggest sports stories on your drive home. The Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Weekday afternoons from 5 till 7 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It's Talk Football. Well, now it's Roll Tide Radio. Look at that. I just talked about that last segment. And the toughest part of the week. It won't be talking football. That's the easy part. It'll be trying to remember what show. Getting done with Talk Football with former NFL coach Kay Stevenson. But now he is sitting in kind enough to make time for us here on the Roll Tide Radio Show, 1 to 2 each and every Monday. Coach, I had a funny prank, and I don't think she thought it was as funny, but my wife went to LSU, obviously was excited for the game this week against Florida. But, I went into her phone and changed it out to the Alabama Crimson Tide fight song on there. And I was like, honey, your phone's ringing. She goes, no, what is that noise? Why is that in our house? And I said, that's your phone. I looked over. She didn't think it was as funny. But, don't do that. Word of advice, do not do the fight song of the team they hate the most on a phone. Don't mess with your wife's phone. That's probably the best idea on that. Looking at what's going on here with Tua and what they've done this year so far, you just talked about it, Coach. The wide receiving core is good, but it continues to make the point. And a lot of people, as we just talked about, will jump onto hey, after 1 week, it's the best thing in the world. This team's incredible. Look, when Dallas's defense, we were saying they're the best team in the NFC. Not we, but people were saying that we had deemed already that Patrick Mahomes was unstoppable by putting up 40 points. And the next thing you know, they're losing games, and now the ship's about to implode. People want Kirby Smart fired in Georgia. I mean, it's all insane week in and week out what people continue to say. But Alabama, we've been saying since week one, and I don't throw these things out lightly. I know you don't, because you have, the things that you've said throughout your life will be publicly put up in the media, in the spotlight as a head coach. So you have to choose your words carefully and how you say things. But Alabama and Texas A&M, when you watch this receiving core, Devonta Smith, and guys like Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle, to me it is the best wide receiving core in the history of college football I've ever seen. And I've seen some good ones back in the day with the Gators when they had Hilliard and Caldwell and Riddell Anthony. I've seen some great ones with Tennessee when they had some of the big guys like Kent and the targets like Swain and Jason Witten. But I'm telling you, this team right here is the best receiving core I've ever seen in college football.
I would have to agree with you. I hate to use the word ever and never. That's a long time. That means nothing comes, But I think you're right. I've not seen one as the overall talent and speed and big playability. And keep this in mind now too. They've got these wide receivers that are just eating college football up, but they also have at least one tight end who could be a very productive tight end catching the football. It's amazing they use so many four wides, and I guess I could put 5 or 6 wides out there. But anyway, no, you're right. It's a good.
Is there been anything you've seen, Coach, that would say though? You got Texas A&M scoring 28. You got Ole Miss scoring 31. South Carolina put up 23. Now, these are late into the games, but we do know that there's been some depletion from the linebacking core, a couple of the guys out there. Is this a sign that on the right day, the Trevor Lawrences, the Jake Fromms, the guys of the world will be able to take advantage of what used to be at one point when you had those guys in the secondary like Humphrey and Eddie Jackson and some of those guys lurking over the years, really from about 2014 to 2017, where you could not touch that defense. This defense is still good, but it's not the best Alabama defense we've ever seen. Is this open up the doors when you know how good LSU's playing? You know that you're going to Auburn, which at that point Bo Nix will have a full season as a true freshman under his belt. And then against Georgia, if they possibly make it, or Florida out of the East with two solid quarterbacks. What do you make of the points being scored against the Alabama offense, or is this just because of the style that the teams have to go up and down the field and are getting late touchdowns?
Well, I think it's pretty much what we talked about before. It's what's happened so far, and everybody likes to say, "Oh, that Alabama defense is just porous, and people are scoring a lot of points." Keep in mind, it's probably not as strong as they used to be, because you're right, the linebacking core was depleted, especially with the injury early in the season, which kept one of their top players on their whole football team out for the year. And to boot, I think you've got to look at the situation where they were very young in the secondary last year. They're better than they were, I think, last year, but they still are not to the degree of production back there that Saban would like them. But I also have one other factor here to keep in mind. They're scoring, Alabama's scoring so well, and they've got so much ability to score themselves that it's allowing Saban to provide depth that he would never have been able to provide before. Mm-hmm. So how do you do that? You've got to put these young guys in the ball game so that they can get some experience. And then as the season goes on, against the LSUs, the Florida Georgias, whoever they have to play, they've got some kids that have played. They're not just putting them in off the bench, and they can rotate people in, stay fresh. That depth is a big factor. But it's hard to get depth because if you're in a tight ball game, you can't just put all those young kids in there that have never played before you get blown out. They come back and score. So I think that's something that people don't think about, but Alabama's been able to increase their depth by virtue of the fact that they're scoring like they are.
Some of the other things to take from this win, 47-28 against Texas A&M. Now sitting at number 1 of the polls, no shock, 6-0, and they will be without Devontae Smith for, it looks like, the first half of the Tennessee game. So how will that impact? Drum roll, please. Absolutely none. Unless they were missing the entire team off a bus, they just can show up, and probably they could run QB draw with Tua right now and win that football game. Jeremy Pruitt, a former Crimson Tide player for Gene Stallings, has got to look at this game. There's so many ties. I mean, when Dabo plays Alabama, to the history of Alabama and the culture. But, Coach, playing against the Crimson Tide and being around the game and from here originally, knowing how important it was, the history of what Bear and what the friends in Tuscaloosa created. But I'm telling you, losing Devonta Smith for a half, he probably couldn't have picked a better week. I mean, this cross-division rival has become – Tennessee is a bad football team. They just aren't – there are some teams that they're not well coached. There are some teams that don't have the athletes. Tennessee doesn't, I don't think, have a horrible coach, and I don't think they have horrible athletes. They're just a bad football team. The culture, everything about it. They just don't have the play. They don't have the quarterback leading them. They don't have the confidence right now, and they're not that great on an overall complete package. They've taken a bunch of okay ratings. That they have more 5-star or 4-star recruits right now. They have, I think it was, I saw yesterday, 21 more 4- or 5-star recruits than Wisconsin. Just put that in perspective. Tennessee, based on the ratings of high school football going into this, Tennessee should be about 2 times better than Wisconsin, who's sitting undefeated, who is this powerhouse, and like you've said, a contender, and Tennessee can't beat anybody.
Well, it's easy to understand the difference there using Wisconsin and Tennessee because Wisconsin, they don't go after the same athletes that Tennessee and SEC teams would. They get those big, strong, physical offensive linemen and defensive linemen. They get their fronts. And those people, how are you going to rate them with the athletes when you start rating 4-star and 5-star? And it's just like Mullen said. I thought he put it best. When those ratings really don't mean anything to their staff. It's how their staff rates players. So, but Tennessee has a hard time recruiting. I don't care what people say. I mean, my gosh, you're sitting there. You got to go. You got to go north, and you've got to try to go all the way down to Florida, and it's just difficult. But they have great tradition and great facilities. And this used to be one of the big games at the South.
And I'll go a little easier on them after they won this week. They beat Mississippi State, so we'll give them a hall pass on this as 2-4 as they will play this week. And looking forward to that matchup. Hey, you can't get on more of an emotional high than winning a football game for Tennessee going into this one. But at Alabama coming up here on Saturday, it'll be a 7:00 late kickoff right there on ESPN. And looking forward to the matchup. Also, for the Alabama Crimson Tide, you look at the way that this team really has been able to go out there and capture the fourth quarter. We're going to get to more on that, the late game heroics, the way they've dominated, and the power of that receiving core that is one of the best, if not the best, in college football history. Also hear from Coach Nick Saban. Coach, we always appreciate your time. I know, thank you for sitting in an extra half hour after your show, and looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow with Talk Football with Coach K.
Hey, it's always good to be with you. Good to be with the Alabama folks.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you, Coach. Coach K. Stevenson, for all of us here, we're coming back. We'll hear from Coach Nick Saban. We'll get to more on the win. We'll look at some fun facts for the Alabama Crimson Tide and all of their records, accolades, all the ones they claim and all the ones they've won. As a UCF fan, I just joke with that. Obviously, everyone you've won and claimed are the same, right? We're coming back for more. It's Roll Tide Radio, off on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM at 99.1 FM, brought to you by Gordon Auto Wholesale. When everybody else says no, they say yes. Carfax checked, and no credit, bad credit, you are approved. Get in the car of your dreams. Get your family on one of those vacations. Get to Christmas with the in-laws. Whatever you need to do to go out there and get in the car that you can afford, and they have it for you right there at Gordon Auto Wholesale. Proud sponsors of the Alabama Crimson Tide Roll Tide Radio Show.
You wanted a toy at the store when you were a kid. Mom said no. You wanted a date as a teenager. The homecoming queen said no. Now, as an adult, you want a car, and all the dealers keep saying no. Finally, there's someone in Pensacola who will say yes. It's Gordon Auto Wholesale on Old Palafox, just 1 block south of Airport Boulevard. Now with a huge selection of third-row SUVs in stock. No credit, bad credit, repos, no problem. Say yes to Gordon Auto Wholesale. Call them at 850-479-9200, 479-9200, and hear yes right now.
A change in season means it's time to check your tires, and Goodyear Auto Service has just what you need to make this fall great. Think weekend getaways, scenic drives, and great deals, like up to $225 in savings this month. That's $75 in instant savings when you purchase and install a set of 4 new Goodyear or Dunlop tires, plus up to $150 back on select tires by online or mail-in rebate when you use your Goodyear credit card. But hurry, this offer ends October 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Visit GoodyearAutoservice.com to learn more.
Calling all Gator fans. Time to get down and dirty in the swamp. ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1 brings you Go Gators every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Go Gators on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. Brought to you by the Holman Law Firm.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It is Roll Tide Radio right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brilliante with you here. Thanks again to Coach K. Stevenson sitting in on this Monday. So much to get to on today's show as we talk about the nice victory in a crazy week of college football where, you know, anytime you sit at the top, and if you're Alabama, you know you control your own path. I mean, at this point, the teams at the top, there's about 4 or 5 in that in crowd in the SEC that know if they lose a game, they still can control their own destiny. Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and usually it's been Auburn. Now, Florida's sort of into that mix as well early, and Missouri or anybody sitting there, because if you lose one game, you know at that point you're either going to have to take on Alabama in the SEC title game, or you're going to have to beat a number of teams in the top 5 to get there. In the West, if you lose one game and you get all the way to the that SEC title game and you win it, you're pretty much in. East, if you're one of the underdog stories, you need a little bit more help. Like currently right now, who leads the East, surprisingly to a lot of people, it's Missouri. They're 5-1. And Missouri's only loss this season was to Wyoming to start the season. So things changed real quickly. Sometimes that happens in football. But Georgia's loss definitely shaking things up this week after a 20-17 double overtime loss to South Carolina at home. For Alabama, it's been one of those that, look, this is a team that knows if they can control, they go out there and win some games. The difference is usually where LSU might lose that game late, and then even if Alabama was to lose, which I don't see this team doing this year, if that happened, they could always find a way to still win the conference or still win, even the 1 year, or still win the division. Remember the 1 year they didn't even get to the SEC title game. They still won the national title. Now that's a rarity. Don't expect that ever to happen. So you're saying there's a chance. One of those once-in-a-lifetime kind of moments. But anything's possible as long as you're still lurking at the top. And after a win against Texas A&M, as many would say, the toughest game they've played this year. First true test. And they look good doing it. There was, outside of the first quarter, there was no time that people were thinking that they were going to lose this game, that they were threatened. 47-28. Typical Tua making some huge passes, 4 touchdowns in that one. If you look at Tagovailoa's stats this year, he is just been able to go out there and dominate. Guy that is already this year not too shabby, right? 27 touchdowns to 1 interception. 27 touchdowns to 1 interception. And it's so consistent across the board. And he's doing it in hostile environments. Texas A&M is the largest stadium in the country. It passed the big house out there. And it's loud. You got a bunch of ROTC. You got a bunch of military folks out there. You got cannons going off. You got people hooting and hollering that have been partying. Literally, one of the biggest traditions they do. And midnight, they all sing, and they stay up probably until then. They probably sleep for 2 days and miss classes on Monday and Tuesday for a game like this. But no matter what, they're going to be loud for that one and able to win. And for Alabama now, they've got Tennessee at home, which I don't think they're going to have to worry about that much, as this game kicked off as a 35-point spread. So when you're a 5-touchdown favorite over an opponent, where you're starting to now get into that zone of paying teams pretty much, legally, folks, this isn't like a Reggie Bush story, but paying teams out there that you beat by 50 points, now you're looking at a team right now that's a 35-point favorite. So, look, Tennessee rode that high. Mississippi State's not that good. Congratulations, you won a game in conference. Then Arkansas next week. Arkansas also has their problems. And then at home against LSU. And the Roll Tiders should be very excited they have this game at home this year. LSU, purple gold. We just saw what happened during College game day there for Florida. Just imagine if both of them were undefeated 1-2 in the nation if they played that game in LSU. For Alabama, at home, this one should be exciting. And I know I'm jumping ship. There's going to be a lot of football before that. But I'm hoping, for the sake of college football, we get to sit down there around November 9th and watch that game. The fair will be over. Other things will be done. And we'll get to watch straight good old American foosball right there between LSU and Alabama. Well, Nick Saban was discussing a little bit about the game. And obviously, as Nick Saban does, once in a while, we'll let you know about some of the things to work on, the confidence meter of the game, and discuss some of the big plays, the highlights, and more in the 19-point victory over Texas A&M.
All right, well, this was obviously a great win for us. This is a tough place to play against a good team. Certainly proud of the way our guys competed in the game. And, you say you got to always play the next play. We certainly shot ourselves in the foot 3 times in a row in the red zone where we threw an interception and kicked 2 field goals. In a critical time in the game where we really could have sort of broke the game open early on. Defensively we played decent at times, but at times we gave them plays that we shouldn't have. Let the quarterback scramble around a little bit too much in the game and didn't really finish the game with class in terms of being able to take the air out of it. Too many penalties. 11 penalties on the day. I think special teams was huge in this game. We had over 300 yards in returns. And, the way I do math on that, whether you score touchdowns or not, every 100 yards you have in field position is, worth 6 points. So that was huge in terms of the field position. It was huge in our, ability to turn the field around and probably score points. But I felt like we did a lot of good things in the game today, and we obviously have things that we need to work on. We don't really have anybody significantly injured. Will Reichert will still be day-to-day as we go through and see how he feels next week, and Chris Owens should be able to start practicing a little bit more, but we'll just have to see how those guys, go right now. But, I was really proud of the way our team competed in the game. They took the ball right down and scored the first, drive of the game, and the players didn't reel, the players didn't get frustrated. They just made the adjustments that we needed to make and, played better, right through the rest of the half. So, a lot of good things in the game. Tough place to play. It's a great win for us, especially in our division.
Coach, did you see anything during the bye week that led you to believe you would have a big day with the returns?
Look, people don't kick the ball to us very much. All right, so, we went through 6 games last year at the end of the season where we got 1 ball kicked to us that we could return on a kickoff return. They got to the point where they never would kick the ball to Waddle. Now, these guys have a great punter, and everybody asked me about a great punter, and my comment was, a great punter is good for us because we'll get some return balls. and we got some. So he kicked it far, and we returned it far. So that's the way it goes.
What happened at the end of the game with Devontae Smith?
You know, basically he got hit, punched, and he retaliated. So, you know, we'll have to wait for the conference office and see what his status is. So it was offsetting fouls. Obviously their players shouldn't have punched him, but he also should have had the discipline not to hit him back, because that's a foul. We'd have got a 15-yard penalty, and that would have basically ended the game. We also got another penalty for pushing a foul at the end of the game, which we're trying to take the air out of the ball so the other team can't get the ball back. Can't get penalties. But let the shot clock run out. I mean, just didn't finish the game like you need to finish a game. You don't want to give good teams the ball back. You want to try to win the game on offense, take the air out of it. Don't give them extra possessions.
What did you think of your defense's ability to affect the quarterback today?
We were better today until the end. I think we got a little bit tired. We got out of our rush lanes a little bit. This guy's a good athlete. He took off running a couple times for a couple big plays, which, you know, we have to do a better job of that. You know, our plan was to make this guy throw the ball from the pocket. That's what we wanted to do. We did not want him to do what he did last year, and he didn't for a long time, but then he did at the end of the game.
What's your biggest takeaway with the win today?
I'm sorry?
What's your biggest takeaway from this win today?
Well, you know, I sort of look at all the good things we did and try to build on those things. And I think when you're a coach, you're a critic to some degree in terms of looking at the things that you need to improve on and get better. And if players are really great competitors and want to be really good, they want you to do that. You know, they want you to tell them what they need to do to try to get better and what we need to do to try to get better. So the one thing that you have to remember about players is there's nobody that wants to do well more than they do. You know, fans have a tough time understanding that sometimes. I never have a tough time as coaches, but sometimes coaches do.
Were you encouraged with what you saw from the running game?
I'm sorry?
Were you encouraged with what you saw from the running game, especially Najee Harris?
Well, I thought we did a good job for the most part, created balance, and we were able to run the ball at the end of the game when we needed to, which I think was a real positive.
You mentioned earlier in the game where Jerry and Tua didn't really seem to be on the same page down in the red zone. They kind of had words after, but then Jerry had a couple big catches later in the game. Just where do you think that connection is at this point between those two players?
No, it's great. I mean, sometimes, we read routes sometimes based on coverages or how people are playing, and, you're counting on both guys sort of seeing the same thing, and that doesn't always, happen exactly that way. But, those two guys work together well. I think we have great chemistry, with all of our skilled players on offense with the quarterback. He does a really good job of leading and being positive and encouraging, those players. And, I think he appreciates the fact that they all make a lot of great plays.
From what you saw, and I know you don't get to watch offensive line closely, but how do you think Landon played?
Boy, it'd be hard for me to say, but I never heard a lot of negatives, on the headset about what he was doing. We had one negative play where he pulled and, he got tripped up and fell down. That's about the only thing that I heard, so I'm assuming that he did pretty well.
Nick, you mentioned the return game being big for you guys, but you also were able to keep them from starting deep. They were starting inside of their own 30 most of the day. I guess how big of that field position difference was it for you today?
Well, I think it was huge. Obviously, we blocked a punt and scored on special teams and changed field position. And I think the fact that even when we didn't score, we moved the ball and kept the ball some today, so we changed field position from that standpoint. And, that was probably really good for us defensively.
You talked about controlling the game over the last couple of weeks. How did you feel you did with that today? It seemed like there were a couple longer drives.
I don't really understand your question.
Right, being able to control the clock and sustain drives a little longer.
Look, man, I want to score. I try to explain that to you guys. All right, so if we score fast, which we scored fast a couple times a day, I'm okay with that. Still counts. And I also said that we are not going to change the way we play offense, all right, because of some other part of our game. All right, so, I was glad that we were able to run the ball more effectively today, and hopefully we'll be able to create that balance in the future. But we're not trying to change the way that we play.
Was Terrell more active today, do you think, Terrell Lewis? He seemed to have a good motor today.
Well, it's first game he's really been able to practice and play. You know, he practiced very sparingly before we played Ole Miss, and he played, you know, about half the time in the game, maybe not even that. But because he was able to practice a little bit more, I think he was, you know, more active in the game today, probably more confident, probably more explosive because he was healthier.
What were the adjustments made after that first possession when they drove down and scored?
You know, they put the formation into the boundary. They were running the ball a little bit out of some formations that we thought might be throwing formations, and you know, so we just had to make some adjustments to formation in the boundary. We made a couple mental errors on the adjustments, which left people open. So, you know, once our players settled into understanding what they were doing, then, you know, we at least took those things away. You know, that they still throw and catch and a quarterback run a few times, yes. But, you know, even the 2 minute before the half, you know, we get 2 roughing the quarterback penalties, which is 30 yards of field position. So, you know, they end up getting a field goal out of it. So, just got to play smarter when it comes to those types of penalties, man. You can't give good people extra opportunities.
Nick Tua became the school's all-time touchdown pass leader past A.J. McCarron. What does that milestone mean, if anything?
Well, it means he's had a great career, you know, to this point, and we certainly appreciate his competitive spirit, the way he prepares for games, his leadership, the way he practices, his ability to, you know, help us score points on offense. It's very instinctive, so it means a lot from all that standpoint, but it also doesn't mean much when it comes to what are you going to do in the future. So, and I think he has an opportunity based on the kind of offensive team we have to have great production if he can continue to just stay focused, you know, on, you know, what we want to do. I mean, this is where, this very seat is where rat poison was born. All right, so I remember that 2 years ago. All right, and when I hear things in the media about whether guys are first-round draft picks or they're setting great records and all that type of thing, that's not really what I like for players to be focusing on right now. You know, you got to focus on what are you doing right now, not what's going to happen in the future, not really what happened in the past, but what can I learn from what's happened in the past? How can I affect what's going on right now? Because that's what's going to affect the future in a positive way. So that's how we want our players to think, regardless of how difficult you all make it for us sometimes with some of our players.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, there you are. Nick Saban right there. Clearly, you know, in the same seat as he was given the rat poison right there. It's sometimes. And it's tough. I remember anytime you're sitting there and you've got Nick Saban in the room, it's intimidating. But, you know, some of these people need to work on their questions. The guy that asked Will Muschamp when he was out there at the Sugar Bowl when Florida was taking on Louisville. Teddy Bridgewater was in that game. Bobby Petrino was riding the motorcycle straight those days. Pretty solid team. But I remember him walking up, and guy's all nervous next to me. He's sweating, and look over, and Mr. Muschamp, first off, just call him coach or just ask the question. Mr. Muschamp, what do you think? Teddy Bridgewater, he's a good athlete, but they're expecting rain here in the area. What do you think if it rains, how it's going to affect the way you get ready for him and prepare and for the dynamics? And like Will Muschamp looks at him, and Will's not known for being the kindest either in the locker room, but he goes, well, last time I checked, we're playing in a dome, so I think we'll be okay. I'm like sitting there going, dude, unless there is a roof leak that drips the AC units, I don't think that's going to change anything to do with the weather. But like, this wasn't on the spur of the moment Jeopardy type of thing. It's like, think about it. Think about what you were about to ask him right there. So some of those guys that asked him a question like, Coach Saban, is this the biggest win ever, or is this do you love your players more than ever because of today? And like, no, just another win. Yeah. Start speaking his language. Coach, how are you going to prepare? How are you going to get the defensive front more physical not to allow this many points against some of the teams coming up? Something to the fact of getting them prepared against another team. Speak his language. Always getting better, right? Nice win, 47-28. It's the Roll Tide Radio Show here on ESPN Pensacola, brought to you by our friends at Gordon Auto Wholesale. When everybody else says no, they say yes. No cash, no credit. Don't sweat it. At Gordon Auto Wholesale, you can get in the car of your dreams and make sure that they're all Carfax checked. They're open until 5:30 today, right there, 2 blocks south of Airport on Old Palafox, 479-9200. Gordon Auto Wholesale. Eddie Gordon, lifelong Bama fan, and proud sponsors of the Roll Tide Radio Show. We're coming back one more segment right here as the Crimson Tide remain number 1 in the country. No shocker to everybody at this point. I feel like we've been saying that for 20 years. Coming back for more right here on ESPN Pensacola.
Gordon Auto Wholesale says yes. No credit, bad credit, bankruptcies, no problem. Over 250 vehicles in stock. Third-row SUVs and trucks. Everyone's approved. Gordon Auto Wholesale is the bank and can help you get into a nice, clean vehicle. Carfax checked. Need a new car? Gordon Auto says yes. Can't buy one from the other dealers? Come see Gordon Auto Wholesale on Palafox, just 2 blocks south of Airport. Or call 479-9200. That's 479-9200.
When weather hits, the right wiper blades make all the difference. That's when the Michelin Man is on your side, helping you see better and drive safer with new Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. Designed with exclusive SmartFlex technology or frameless beam design, Michelin blades flex to the curve of your windshield, giving you unparalleled, streak-free, long-lasting, all-season performance. So when the going gets tough, be ready with Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. It's a difference you can see. Available at Walmart, Menards, Mills, and Plains.
More than 100 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
The key on offense is going to be whether Franks can come back and duplicate what he did in the last 4 games.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. ESPN Pensacola is now on 1330 FM 99.1.
We're still doing this, right? This is actually happening. We're going to let this happen.
You can also listen anywhere. ESPNpensacola.com.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Of the 5 games so far for them, that's the 4 to the best weekend, which was obviously a high weekend in Alabama.
And welcome back to Roll Tide Radio right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Chad Brilliante with you here. Thanks again. Coming up here at 2 o'clock, it'll be the Mouth of the South, Paul Feinbaum, and he should have a fun day today. From callers from Georgia, Alabama, from South Carolina. I'm sure you're going to get a couple Gamecock fans that are going to be sitting there going, man, you know, after that victory, we got to be looked at national title contenders, you know, the way. No, come on. Guys lost in North Carolina early in the year. It happens. Football, I think we've gotten so caught up that we can't see Patrick Mahomes losing a game in the NFL when he's lost 2 straight. Baker Mayfield they were talking Super Bowl before they had made playoffs, 2-4 now. Tom Brady's old and done, according to the news, 42, and they're 6-0. Talking about the Saints can't get it done now that you got a guy like Drew Brees out. Teddy Bridgewater, 4-0 as a quarterback. It happens. I mean, we just all want to create this where teams like Ohio State, Oklahoma, Georgia, LSU, Alabama's, they just can't lose. Clemson's, and it can happen. But there's always been this game. I mean, if you look back at history, very few teams ever go undefeated. Most teams always have that one game. I mean, Alabama for a while, it was Ole Miss, taking on Ole Miss. For Clemson, lost to Syracuse, lost to Pittsburgh. And the feel of the game against Georgia, losing to South Carolina, has that type of feel, like a lot of games we've seen in college football. That one shocking week, and then the next couple weeks they roll back in. But it happens in college football. And I think even though Georgia, they do have a couple weaknesses offensively that they didn't, when I say weaknesses, not what they've had in the past. When you lose 4 of your top receivers in the NFL, that's going to affect you, including their tight end. A lot of 3 of the 4, which a lot of people were surprised that they left early. But for Alabama, they don't have that problem in the on the offensive side. Best wide receiving core we have seen, and in this matchup, a big one coming up here against Tennessee. 35-point favorite in this matchup. One of the big highlights from the game as Texas A&M had an early 7-0 lead. Everybody and their mama, shocked this could happen. In the first quarter, Texas A&M's leading. Right back down the field, Alabama was able to go back down, and Tua with just Tua magic, as he's done in the past.
Did they get it away? Apparently so. Quick throw out. Jalen Waddle weaving his way for his first touchdown of the year. So it's the 3 big receivers, and then it's Waddle, and Jalen Waddle scores.
And it only got worse from there as Alabama was able to take that first initial tie right there in the first quarter at 7-7. And look, when it was 7-7, Jalen Waddle's the kind of guy, too, that is like their 3rd or 4th target. And this guy, the skill set is incredible. But right after that, Devonta Smith, 47 yards down the field. And you heard from Nick Saban. He had a punch thrown to him. He threw a punch back, retaliated, and he'll miss the first half against Tennessee. Boo-hoo. You could still come in the second half and put up 10 receptions for 110 yards against the Vols. They won't need him in that game. Najee Harris was able to have a big play out of the backfield, and also one of the parts that is really, and any other team we're talking about number 1, there'd be really no reason to even talk about it because, and the way you put up 60 points. But one key fact here, and it's something important to Alabama fans because it could be the difference in them winning a national title or not, is the situation right now where they're sitting there at 2-2 as they got you had Joseph Belovas, the kicker, able to go out there and he went 2 for 2 and then 5 for 5 in extra points. So think about it that way. If you're able to go out there and go pretty much dominate, make every big kick, didn't do anything wrong, and that's important for Alabama at this point. 2 for 2 and 5 for 5 in extra points. Wouldn't have made the difference in them winning, but still important that they don't lose on a 38-yard shank in a pivotal moment. Alabama at this point now getting set to go. Their next few games will be against Tennessee at home, Arkansas at home, and then LSU at home. So back in Bryant-Denny for a couple weeks in a row and having that bye week coming up there the week before LSU. It's going to be critical right there, healthy and ready to go. That's huge after you go through some of the schedule to be back and have a chance to get ready, refreshed, and have that bye week. So will LSU, and it'll be exciting to see. Remaining number 1 in the polls, and no shock there, leading the conference. Right now, sitting at 6-0 with LSU at 6-0, Auburn at 5-1, Mississippi State at 3-3, Texas A&M 3-3, and Arkansas 2-4 in the SEC West. So right about where it's supposed to be. Texas A&M, I think a lot of people would look at 3-3 and say, wow, little surprise, but not so much when the 3 losses are to Clemson, Alabama, and Auburn. That starts to make sense. That's all the time we have for the Roll Tide Radio Show. We appreciate you tuning in, getting set up here for Paul Feinbaum, the Mouth of the South, coming up here in just about a minute from now. We'll get to more on the big stories coming up here in the day on the Sports Drive tonight, get into all the big stories, and we'll just try to go grab a coffee and a lunch here after back-to-back shows and one more to do. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Chad Brilliante. It's the Roll Tide Radio Show brought to you by Gordon Auto Wholesale, where always you are approved in the car of your dreams. Coming back for more tomorrow, as we will have the Go Gators show for you with the Florida Gators after a tough effort right there. 42-28 loss to LSU, but really proved themselves to a lot of people that they can battle with some of the finest in some of the toughest situations. And then on Wednesday, Tomahawk Talk and Florida State Talk in college football. Thanks for joining us right here. If you're an Alabama fan, sponsor, you can always hit us up at chad@ESPNpensacola.com to be a sponsor of the show. Roll Tide, Alabama #1.
Football season has arrived, and ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM is where the action is. Bringing your high school football every Friday night, UWF football on Saturdays, and the NFL on Sundays. If you would like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
All them dogs are counting down, about to put the anchor down. Hotty toddy, who's it gonna be? Cowbells and Swan, the Aggies wrong. There's nothing like the SEC. The weekend's full of surprise. Hit 'em with the flex. From Williams Price to Death Valley. On the Five-Mile Show, Paul's on the roll. If he don't get the best of me, call Paul.
Alabama. It's your show. Go ahead. You got a damn burning crappy attitude. Let me talk, Danny. Okay, go.